100.2. Shout out to Ylva in Norway. Hey, one of our viewers who I was just the first guest on his podcast, which we taped earlier today.
Reuters. Congressional Republicans on Tuesday accused the Obama administration and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton of failing to protect U.S. diplomats in the 2012 Benghazi, Libya attack that killed 4 Americans. In an 800-page report that Democrats have derided as a political vendetta, Republicans also accused Clinton, now the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee,
Because this is from mid-2016.
and her staff, of a shameful lack of response to congressional investigators looking into the tragedy, and assailed Clinton's use of private email server for official business. Okay. All right. So, all right. So basically, okay, hang on.
I'm not sure the article says what you wanted to say.
Trey Gowdy of South Carolina, the Republican chairman of the special panel, outlined what he said was a disconnect between the unfolding violence on the ground in Benghazi and the perception among top Obama administration officials, quote unquote, that the fighting had subsided at the U.S. diplomatic compound. Okay, Paul Ryan, the Republican Speaker of the House of Representatives, did not mention Clinton by name in a statement he released, but said, "The committee's report makes clear that officials in Washington failed to help our men and women on the ground when they were in need of help."
So this is a report that just accuses, but after all these hearings were held, that failed to find culpability, because the sub-headline of that article, if you go up to the top, is, subhead, come on, stinky computer, why is it frozen? Make it go.
The Democrats disagree.
Well, no, because there's the whole article. If you go to, if I can get to the, all right, here we go. Wait. There we go. Hold on. Sorry. All right. Congressional Republicans blast Clinton and Obama in long-awaited Benghazi report. The findings are sure to fuel attacks on Clinton on the presidential campaign trail, but they do not reveal any new substantial evidence of Clinton's culpability with regard to the attack.
Well, but that's not what you asked me to do. What you asked me to do was find a congressional finding that she was responsible. You use the word culpability, and they are saying it was her fault.
Yeah, you got Ryan and Gowdy saying
right.
It was, but
right, and you've got the Democrats saying it wasn't her fault. So where does that get us?
Well, it doesn't reveal any new substantial evidence. So she was not found culpable before, and then they released this long report that offers nothing new.
Well, but that's because they say she did not help them. That's exactly what I told you. I mean, it doesn't matter.
No, the article says that she didn't offer any further testimony.
No.
The first quote you read was a shameful lack of response to congressional requests.
Right, but it also says that no one in Washington, officials in Washington, failed to help our men and women on the ground when they were in need of help.
Yeah, but it's not based on. It's just that offers no new evidence. It's just they're saying shit that they were saying all along.
But you asked me.
I know. I asked you to find a congressional finding.
That was the finding.
Yeah, but it's just a couple freaking.
Do you want me to find the 800-page report?
The report, the article says it offers no new evidence. So they had more than a dozen hearings.
But the report says that she didn't help them. It doesn't matter if it's new or old. That's what the report said. Officials in Washington did not help the men and women on the ground.
Yeah, they're saying the shit they were saying all along.
So what?
But
What difference
the
does it make?
hearings never found culpability.
But that is culpability.
But it's just guys saying that. It's not the result. The hearings didn't find culpability, but the Republicans say, well, we still think she's culpable, but offer no new evidence of culpability. They have a zillion hearings.
The report offers
They have a
evidence.
zillion hearings. They don't find culpability. But the Republicans still release a report that says, well, we still think she's culpable, but the report offers no new evidence.
But that's what the report says. The report says that she did not help. Officials in Washington did not help our men and women on the ground. That's what the report says. Which is
but
what
it's
I've been
not.
telling you.
It offers no new
It
evidence.
doesn't matter if it's new.
Find me a hearing that finds her culpable. There was no hearing that found her.
Look, Rick.
So the deal is, hold on. Now don't interrupt me for a second. They have more than a dozen hearings on Benghazi.
Yes.
Hillary spends 11 hours in front of Congress testifying. And the result of these hearings is they don't find her culpable. But after all the hearings are over, the Republicans still release a report that say, we still think she's culpable based on no new evidence. That's the sub-headline of that whole article.
Okay, Rick. Whatever evidence there ever was is in the 800-page report. And the Republicans say she did not help our men and women on the ground.
Okay, but...
So it doesn't matter if it's...
none of the hearings found her culpable.
But, Rick...
Which is all I'm asking. What I asked for before we broke was, find me the report of a congressional hearing that finds her culpable.
This report says that she's culpable. She was supposed to help them, and she didn't.
What I asked for, and what you can't give me, is find me the result of a congressional hearing based on evidence and testimony that says she's culpable, and they didn't find it. But the Republicans still went ahead on the basis of no new information.
I know that's what you're saying.
That's also what the headline says.
It's saying that according to the report, she did not help them.
Yeah, it's a report from the Republicans. It's not the result of a hearing. It's got no new evidence.
Rick, did she help them?
No, but she was part of a whole chain of fucking command. A whole bunch of shit happened, and they had 12.
Rick, I'm going
to
ask you a question now because you're failing to use logic on this.
No, you're bullshitting me.
No, I'm not.
You're bullshitting me. I said, find me a congressional hearing.
I can get the 800-page report, but I can't find it now.
The report is just a bunch of guys saying, well, we think she's culpable, even though the hearings didn't establish culpability.
The guys are the people that held the hearings.
Yeah, but the official results of those hearings were that they couldn't find her culpable. But a couple guys still say, well, yeah, but we still think she's culpable, even though we had all these hearings that didn't find her culpable.
Rick, there is no hearing that says that they didn't find her culpable. They're saying she didn't. Okay, now you don't interrupt me.
Okay.
There is an 800-page report. I can't find it on the internet. I don't know how to find an 800-page report. What these people are saying, the report says she did not help them, and she was supposed to. Okay? Now, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to answer. You said she didn't help them. When I asked you a minute ago, did she help them? You said no. And then you immediately said, but there were a lot of other people. It doesn't matter, Rick. She did not help them. She was in charge of the State Department. They were under her. She did not order the troops to rescue them. Did she?
I don't think so.
No! Did Hillary Clinton order troops to help the people in Benghazi. So she let them die.
It's more complicated than that, and you know it is.
No, actually, I don't know that, Rick.
Because
this report says
it's a couple guys' opinion based on no new evidence.
But it's your opinion. No, it's your opinion too. Rick, it's your opinion too. You just now sitting there in a chair said she didn't help them.
I didn't help.
I
didn't help them either.
Give me the order. Show me the order where Hillary Clinton ordered an attack.
I just said she didn't order an attack.
Why not?
Because there was a whole bunch of because there were 50 million layers of.
But she was at the top, Rick. She was the leader.
If you want to break again and read the whole frickin' timeline,
the whole 800-page report.
No.
I don't need to read the timeline.
No, you just go to Wikipedia and you read about the 13 hours, and then you read further about Hillary's involvement.
Okay, Rick. Did she ever order an attack in the 13 hours?
No.
And she was the one that could have made the order, right?
It's more complicated than that.
No, it isn't. She could have saved
So
them.
you show me where the head of the State Department was directly asked for help during that 13 hours.
Okay, shut off the camera. Okay, this is the worst show we've ever done.
Yeah, because you're bullshitting.
And let me explain. I'm trying to convince a man of something that can't be made wrong. So we have to do this. I wanted to talk about a million other things. I want to apologize. I can't do it because he thinks that Hillary Clinton rescued these guys in Benghazi.
I just said fucking 4 fucking times she did not. But fucking.
Then why don't you blame her as being culpable?
So fucking Eisenhower ran D-Day. A bunch of guys, their amphibious boats fucking sank.
So it's not her fault. You're sure it wasn't her fault? How do you know that?
All right, so when you have a fucking traffic accident,
why wasn't it Clinton's fault?
Because there were.
Whose fault was it?
There were fucking 10.
Whose fault was it?
Don't fucking interrupt me if you don't want me to interrupt you. There were 10 layers of command between the shit that's happening in Benghazi and Clinton. And there were probably failures at various levels of command.
None of that is true. She was in charge. She didn't order them to help them.
So was Eisenhower at fault when the fucking amphibious vehicles sank on the way to Normandy Beach?
No.
To Omaha Beach?
No, but Eisenhower was trying to help the French. Eisenhower was trying to liberate Europe. Clinton didn't do anything.
Find me, turn off the cameras for a second, instead of wasting fucking
Clinton
video.
didn't do anything. What did she do?
Find me where
No, you tell me. What did she do?
No, see, you're just fucking grandstanding and bullshitting. Find me, because they had all these hearings, no culpability, or very little fucking culpability.
Listen, Rick, this is the problem with these things. You want me to look up and find somebody that can say, Clinton did it.
Find me where she got a phone call or an email.
Yes, she got a phone call.
Show it to me. Show it fucking to me.
All right, turn off the camera.
Just turn it off. We'll come back. Just fucking turn off the quit wasting time on me telling you to turn off the fucking camera. And roll. All right, so he's rolling on us. Do you have something to read here? I see the article.
I need to read the whole thing.
Well, do it then.
It's 800 pages.
Wait, you're looking at the whole fucking 800-page report?
I am, because otherwise I can't convince you.
Well, just fucking no. That's just.
All right.
Make it bigger so I can fucking see it with my old eyes.
Oh, shit. Okay, are you recording?
What?
Get the legs.
Hold on.
That's gonna break. Hold on to that.
Okay.
All right. We have the mic here.
Alright.
You got all these timelines. Show me something here, because either cut the camera, because we're just sitting here just looking at a computer, which is no good, or read shit off of here.
Okay, on September 11th, Benghazi time, compound was attacked.
Okay.
9:40
All right. So,
a.m., 9:40 p.m., the compound was attacked.
yeah, we know it was 13 hours from the first attack until it finally fell. And
7 a.m.
All right, so when is Hillary contacted? Does that timeline?
She was contacted immediately.
Where does it say that? Where is any of this?
Jesus Christ. I feel like, so you're saying she did, all right, I'll go up to the very beginning. She was contacted at 9:42, at 9:59, exactly 17 minutes after the attack on September 11th, an unmanned surveillance aircraft was directed over the Benghazi facility. So they knew at 9:42.
Well, who's running the fucking the drone? What level of command is running the drone?
The National Military Command Center at the Pentagon. After receiving initial reports on the incident from the State Department, notifies the Office of the Secretary of Defense and the Joint Staff. So the first person to receive the reports of the incident was the State Department. Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of State, the head of the State Department. She sent the information to them.
It doesn't say her name in any of this yet. Where's fucking Hillary's name here?
Rick.
I know she runs the State Department, but the State Department has a bunch of layers.
Rick. The State Department notified the Military Command Center at the Pentagon within 20 minutes of the attack beginning. She's the head of the State Department, Rick.
All right, so you're still obfuscating the fucking shit, Lance.
She's the head of the State Department, Rick.
Where does it say Hillary Clinton was asked for help and did nothing? Where in here does it say it in this whole fucking report that was...
Okay, turn the camera off. I have to read the whole 800 pages.
No, you don't.
No, I refuse.
No, I get to look up. I get to look up something now.
I looked this up. You get your own damn computer. Turn that off.
It's your fucking studio. Table it till next week. How about that?
You're using your camera.
I'm gonna fucking use my cancer until it's taken out of me.
Camera on.
I'm gonna fucking.
Did you catch that? I want people in the video world in the YouTube world.
That's fine. I'm not going to waste time while you.
Rick says his life is shortening.
Waiting. You say you're going to read an 800-page report until you find something in the report that supports your point. I'm saying it's fucking, 11:45. I'm saying I want to treat myself better. I'm not going to wait for you to read an 800-page report.
Okay.
Table it till next week, or give me something fast. Because, I'm going to use the fucking cancer. Because I don't want to sit here for another half hour, wasting time, getting to sleep at 2:30 a.m. while you grandstand about an 800-page report. And won't let me look up anything on your computer.
Okay. Here. Let's just stop and talk about something else.
Okay. All right. Science Corner. Let's talk about cancer. The deal is that my father-in-law died of pancreatic cancer. And pancreatic cancer is one of those deals where by the time it causes symptoms, pain, bleeding, whatever, it's already stage 4 and you're fucked. So I was thinking, we have the technology to look inside the human body. So why don't we get my body checked out a little bit, even though I've got no symptoms of anything? So I had him run some blood numbers, and some numbers were a little high, probably because I work out obsessively And until a couple months ago, I was working every muscle every day, which is a bad idea. But I was just too mentally lazy to adhere to a system where you work different muscles every day. I just go in and I do the same shit every day, and this caused something called mild rhabdo, where you're damaging your muscles too much, and it's hard on your body. And so I had some moderately elevated numbers, which led to me getting an ultrasound where they found a suspicious lump in one of my organs. And then they gave me an MRI, and they found a small tumor that's stage 1 that they should be able to remove without it recurring. It's statistically, the odds are over 90% that it won't recur because they caught it early in the symptom-free stage. And the doctors are so casual about it that they're making me wait another month and a half to get it taken out, because the doctor wants to use this fancy robot, surgical robot at UCLA that there's a long waiting list for it. So the only one freaking out about it is me. But the takeaway here is that you should take advantage of existing technology and look inside your body, if you're my age, if you're in your 50s, before you get symptoms of anything. Because some of these can't, the deal is that in the future, 10 years, 20 years from now, they'll have all sorts of technology to look inside of us more easily and more cheaply, and that will remove the threat of at least 40% of diseases, where, heart disease if you catch it early, various cancers if you catch them early, they're highly treatable. It's just nobody does it now because we're not used to it, and because a fucking MRI probably costs $4,000. I'm lucky enough to have good insurance. But the takeaway is, get tested, get blood tests, and have them take a look inside of you. They're going to want to do a CT scan, but a CT scan is heavy in X-rays. A CT scan is basically hundreds of X-rays from different angles, and then they combine it in the computer to give a 3D image of your body. And they love doing CT scans because they're quick, they're cheap, relatively cheap. But they dose you with a huge amount of radiation, which is worse if you're younger. If you're in your 20s, definitely of 30s, 40s, avoid CT scans. If you're in your 50s or older, yeah, if you've got a reason to get them done, not for no reason, but if there's, the deal is that the radiation causes cancer to grow later if it's going to cause cancer. So if you're in your 20s and you get the CT scan, that gives cancer 50, 60, 70 years to occur from the CT scan. If you're in your 50s, you'll probably die of something else before the radiation from the CT scan gives you cancer. They say in the bad old days of CT scans that they may have been responsible for as much as 2% of cancer. I think now they've tried to dial down the radiation levels. So, because it used to be in the old days, a nice fat CT scan would give you as much radiation as if you were standing about 2 kilometers from ground zero at Hiroshima when they dropped the atomic bomb. So anyway, get shit checked out, especially if you've got fancy insurance. Because we have the technology to do it, and you might catch something, as I did, early. All right, Science Corner 1. Science Corner 2. My theory of the universe in a nutshell. the first exercise I'm going to ask you to do is to picture how information is held in your mind. Or just to think what's in your mind right now. What are you thinking about? You're thinking about stuff, right? You're watching this show, so that's in your mind. If you're bored by the show, your ass might feel a little numb or sore, and you're shifting around. You might be hungry. You might have to piss. You might want to turn this off and find something with on Netflix. I don't know, but anyway, you might be worried about your job. You might be, I don't know, but anyway, your mind has contents every waking second, and even every non-waking second, at least when you're dreaming. But most of the time, your mind is active, and there's a world of information that you're actively picturing. And then imagine what makes it possible for you to have a mind. And what makes it possible is your brain. If you didn't have a brain, you wouldn't have a mind. The brain is the actual thing in your skull that is doing the processing, that's sending out dopamine and serotonin and electrical impulses, and among roughly 100 billion neurons, that somehow these neurons are working together to give you this thing that you're perceiving as your mind, and which means that you're perceiving the world around you. You mostly don't think about your mind. You mostly think about what's happening around you and how you feel about it, and if your ass is numb, if you're horny, if you have to piss, that's happening because your brain is doing stuff that lets it happen. So, all right, those are the first two steps. The next step is for me to argue that a lot of people, including myself, think that the universe is made of information. Because what else could it be made of? Because, all right, the universe is made of star stuff. Atoms that were cooked in stars, and then the stars explode, and then the stuff comes back together on Earth, and Earth, frickin' coalesces and cools down, and life arises, and 4.5 billion years later we have Earth with well-developed spectrum of life. But when you look at what Earth is made of, you get when you keep looking smaller and smaller, you get molecules, then you get atoms, then you get subatomic particles, and then in the case of protons, you get the quarks that make up the protons, plus the various gluons and pions and junk that keep the subatomic particles confined within the proton. And but as you get down to the smallest components, those components only have a very few characteristics. Like an electron has 0 diameter. It's a point-wise particle. And the only reason that it's blurry because you can't find it exactly in space, because you only have a limited amount of information about where the electron is at any given moment. But the electron has no interior. It's got no details. It's only this thing that has mass and charge and a thing called spin, and that's about it. So basically, when you get down to an electron, it's basically just information. Is it spin up or spin down? And where is it? And what is it? It's an electron. It's got a negative charge of 1 unit. And that's the end of the detail. It's got no texture. It's just raw information. And that's kind of similar for every subatomic particle. When you get down to the most basic components, the most basic components are just these little indices, up, down, other things like, what's it's a quark's, color component, though it's not really color, it's just another index. So I'd argue that at base, everything is information. But when you look, now the step 4 is for me to argue, for you to have information, you probably need some kind of container similar to the way we contain our information. Our information is contained relative to our awareness in our mind. And that's made possible because the mind is made possible by the brain. So the next step is to argue that the universe, if it's made of information, then that information probably pertains to something. The information in our minds pertains to the world around us, because our brain's job and our mind's job is to help us understand the world around us and prepare for what happens next so we don't die. So we evolved to have brains and minds that help us survive. Similarly, you can argue that if the universe consists of information, that information pertains to something. It's not just raw information. It has to be describing something in the aggregate. That the universe taken as a whole is somehow contains a world of information pertaining to something. And finally, step 5 would be to argue that that information needs to be supported by something. That you just can't have information floating in its own space unless there's hardware, some structure, some physical structure, apart from the universe itself, that provides the physical means to generate that world of information. So all those steps come together to form the analogy between the information in our minds and the information that a lot of people, including myself, think the universe is made of. And I could go into more detail, but I've already taken too much time.
No,
but
go into more detail.
Well, all right, one more thing is there's one problem with this point of view is that it risks running into this infinite ladder of universes where if our universe is information working as kind of our minds do, if the universe can be viewed as analogous to a vast mind, then you need the hardware to support that mind the same way the brain supports our minds. But then that hardware itself is made of information in yet another universe that itself needs hardware in a third universe that supports the information that is in that hardware universe that supports our universe. And it leads to this infinite ladder of universes. If every universe needs another universe that's the hardware that allows that universe to exist, then that's an infinite ladder of universes. And infinities are to be avoided if at all possible. So that infinity is bad. But I don't know what to do about it. Problem 2 with the analogy between mind is with the equivalence of mind as universe, is that, well, if the information in our universe is the universe thinking about something, that every time something happens in the micro event, every time a micro event happens in our universe, that I go doink, doink on the mic, does that signify something to the mind that the universe might be, or to the vast information processor that the universe might be? If I drop this tank top, does that signify something in the information world of the universe? And I've decided that seems unlikely. Does every planet mean something very specific within the information world of the universe? Like, does our galaxy somehow, like if you made an information map of everything in our awareness, there might be a zone in our information map, not a moment-to-moment information map, but an overall information map of what we know. Because at any given moment, we only know a very small slice of what we know overall. Like, you don't, until I say your second grade teacher, your awareness of who your second grade teacher wasn't in your awareness until I said it. And then your brain was able to call it up and bring it into your active awareness. So if you look at the overall map of everything we might know, there might be a region devoted to every teacher you've had, or colors, or what you do in traffic, or your spank bank. And if that world of information can be mapped geometrically, then you'd have some party that, well, if our mind looks like our universe, then is there a galaxy that is devoted to the concept of orangeness? Is there another galaxy devoted to characteristics of toes? That seems like a too literal one-to-one equivalence.
Say there's a galaxy devoted to Trump, orangeness?
Sure, he'd be in there. And so I'm guessing, well, that's a problem. If you think about it enough, it becomes ridiculous to think that the information in our mind would be kind of laid out to correspond to something that looks like a Big Bangy type universe with galaxies, that equate to the information in this galaxy is everything that you know about water, about facial features, So I'm guessing, so that's a problem, and I'm guessing that there's a looser equivalence. The information in an information world is stored more holographically, distributed across large swaths of space, and so that it can't be pinned down. That this. Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
Can you comment after you're done with that on the concept of, and if you can repeat it for the microphone, if a tree falls in the forest, nobody's there to hear it, did it really fall? Can you give your opinion?
Okay, you just asked about if a tree falls in the forest, does it really fall?
Nobody's there to hear it, right?
All right, so that is, I believe, connected fairly intimately to the quantum mechanics that describe the universe. And I'll shut up about the other stuff. That's enough about the other stuff. The deal is that quantum mechanics describes what happens when you have a limited amount of information to describe the world, to describe the universe. And we live in a finite universe with a huge but finite number of particles. But when you get down to the smallest distances, everything's blurry because there's only a finite amount of information to describe where everything is. And it would take infinite information to describe everything with infinite precision. So quantum mechanics describes what happens, what the blurriness is like, and the uncertainty is like when you only have finite information. And that whole tree falling in the forest thing leads to like quantum mechanical issues, or corresponds in a rough way, that if the universe didn't detect it, it didn't happen. And so we can, and the most famous manifestation of this principle is the two-slit experiment with photons. The deal is that if you have a light emitter, a flashlight, and you hang up a sheet that has a couple holes in it, and then you have a wall behind the sheet, photons will go through the two holes. And then they'll spread out, they'll go through the two holes, and then they'll interfere with each other the way waves do in a swimming pool, and they'll create an interference pattern on the wall behind the sheet. Because the photons coming through kind of mess with each other and create an interference pattern. But if you close off one of the holes, the interference pattern goes away because you don't have photons from two different sources interfering with each other. You've just got one source now. The two holes become two sources. And things get weird when you turn down the flashlight until there's only one photon at a time, one particle of light leaving the flashlight, say, every minute. So there aren't multiple photons to interfere with each other. However, even if you're only letting in one photon, emitting one photon a minute, you'll still get the interference pattern, which means that photon, each individual photon, is actually traveling through both holes, which is crazy. It's like you shoot a bullet and it goes through two different holes and hits the target on the other side of the sheet. Though if you turn on a detector in the sheet, or attach a couple of detectors, one on each hole, so that it tells you specifically which hole the photon passed through, the interference pattern goes away. Because all of a sudden you know which specific hole the photon went through. But then if you turn off the detectors, the photon goes through both holes. So the deal is, if you make it so the universe can't tell by turning off the detectors which hole the photon went through, then it goes through both holes. And you can do it with any number of holes. You can do 3 holes, 4 holes, whatever. You can have one photon go through 18 holes, as long as you don't have set up detectors, as long as you don't allow the universe to know which hole the photon went through. So you can argue on the basis of quantum mechanics that if there's no way to know, for the universe to know that a tree fell over, then it didn't fall over. In practical terms, though, a tree is a macro thing. A tree consists of, trillions of atoms. And even if there's no witness to the tree falling over at the moment it falls over, no human witness, the universe still witnesses it. You can go into the forest and you can see a tree that's fallen over, and you can surmise with with a huge degree of certainty that a tree fell over because there's a tree lying on the ground. So in macro terms, you don't get quantum effects because that tree is such a big-ass thing that it leaves a record. The universe definitely knows there was a tree and that it fell over. If it were a quantum level tree that consisted of like 2 particles, you could argue that you could set up a system where the universe would never know there was a tree and that it fell over. The end. All right, what do you got? You got something to read about fucking Benghazi?
Yeah, I actually do.
Okay.
According to the hearings held before the Senate, in the exchange between Senator Lindsey Graham and General Dempsey and the Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta, no order was made to support the embassy while it was under attack. According to Leon Panetta, Secretary of Defense, President Obama spoke with Panetta for half an hour at the beginning of the attack and told them to do whatever they could to help the people there.
So wait, so Panetta talks to Obama.
Panetta talks to Obama after they had received word from the State Department.
Okay.
So the State Department already knew what was going on.
Then what happened?
They went. They sent an unmanned drone over to surveil the situation, to surveil the battle. They met with the president, who told them to do everything they could. That was the last time they spoke to the president.
Okay.
The battle raged for another 8 hours. During the 8 hours, neither Clinton nor Obama spoke to anybody about the Benghazi attack.
Well, so what did Panetta do after Obama said, do whatever you can?
Panetta did not send in anybody to help them. No,
Why? But Obama told him to go help him. So what happened?
He didn't send anybody in. They asked him, okay, one, they asked him, did you send anybody in? Were any assets sent in? And he said no. He says they couldn't get anything off the ground. Clinton is nowhere to be found. Neither the president nor Clinton contacted him. And when they finally did send C-30 transports, it was after the battle was over. So they waited until it was over, and then they sent in planes to take them home. It's also revealed that...
Well, let's read the fucking thing.
It's also revealed that the State Department was aware, because of a communique from the ambassador, Ambassador Stevens, on a cable of August the 15th.
I know, he asked for help.
Saying that they needed help, and they did not give him
They
help.
needed more security or some shit like that.
He said, we can't defend this place.
All right, so let's read the fucking testimony.
And General Dempsey said that she is stunned. I would call okay. General Dempsey, I don't know that Hillary Clinton, didn't know about the cable. Senator Graham, she said she didn't. General Dempsey, then that's Senator Graham. Are you stunned that she didn't? General Dempsey, I would call myself surprised that she didn't. Senator Graham, okay. Are you surprised that the President of the United States never called you, Secretary Panetta, and say, how is it going? Secretary Panetta, normally in these situations, Senator Graham, did he know the level of threat? Secretary Panetta, let me finish the answer. We were deploying the forces. He knew we were deploying the forces. He was being kept updated. As to the Senator Graham, I hate to interrupt you, but I have limited time. We didn't deploy any forces. Secretary Panetta, no, but Senator Graham, Did you, wait a minute, Secretary Panetta, it was over by the time. Senator Graham, Mr. Secretary, you didn't know how long the attack would last. Did you ever call him and say, Mr. Secretary, it looks like we don't have anything to get there anytime soon? Secretary Panetta, the event was over before we could move any assets. Senator Graham, it lasted almost 8 hours, and my question to you is, during the 8-hour period, did the president show any curiosity about how is this going? What kind of assets do you have helping these people? Did he ever make that phone call? Secretary Panetta, look, there is no question in my mind that the President of the United States was concerned about American lives. Okay, do I have to keep doing this?
Well, it still doesn't lead to fucking Hillary being the number one responsible person for, I mean...
According to this testimony, Hillary was nowhere to be found.
You have the president saying, do whatever you can.
Right. And then, but Hillary didn't call. She didn't do anything. According to this testimony, she was aware...
Well, let me see. You fucking, I mean...
Turn the camera off.
Or not.
This is the worst show. Cut the goddamn camera!
All right. We got... Okay, so there's one senator kind of wrapping up this shit, I guess. I don't know. I mean, this thing goes on for 800 pages, but I appreciate your willingness to look at what happened here has been acknowledged. The bottom line is that our agencies didn't do enough to protect our people on the ground, and we have to do better. As the ARB pointed out, there were security failures, there were leadership and management deficiencies. I appreciate that Secretary Clinton took responsibility for that, and that we are looking at recommendations to address that. So thank you for your blah, 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 blah. All right, so seems like there was plenty of culpability to go around. That it was acknowledged that there were organizational problems, but that none of these hearings found Clinton to be particularly culpable.
Rick, I'm showing you the testimony that on August
Secretary
15th,
Panetta, we have worked with the State Department on a team to assess the different embassies.
that's going to go on forever. That's
Yeah,
just
all right,
saying
but-
what they're going to. That's
but
the
like,
future.
all right, but like
On
this-
August the 15th, the
Yeah,
cable was received from Ambassador Stevens saying that they needed help.
Yeah, and also during that same period, people are asking him, don't you really want to get the hell out of there? And he's like, no, I want to stay on here.
Rick,
He said that.
Rick,
They asked him, do you
Rick,
want to get out? And he's like, no.
Rick, she didn't send him any help.
You keep dredging up the shit. So anyway, I mean, all this is...
She received a cable saying, I need help. And she
Anyway,
didn't
this
send
is
him any
what
help.
this whole thing is a huge, like, whataboutism. We've spent, like, almost an hour on, not on Trump, and the hearings that are going to be held on Trump, but rather we're still looking at Hillary, where they had more than a dozen hearings, and that they found organizational deficiencies, but they didn't find her particularly
leader-
culpable.
and
And you want to... Yeah, they found a bunch of stuff. And
Where was she on the night of the attack, Rick?
I don't fucking know, but
It
they
says-
talked to the president, and the president says, do whatever you
No,
can.
But it was her department. She wasn't anywhere to be found. That's exactly the problem, Rick. She's not mentioned because she wasn't anywhere to be found. She didn't oversee. She didn't supervise. She didn't lead. She let them die. She did not send in troops. She did not ask Secretary.
So anyway, this
she
is-
did
this
not. There is no record of any contact between the Secretary of Defense and the generals and Clinton.
Did anybody say they contacted her? I mean, I know she's supposed to be proactive.
She received the State Department received contact before the president, before the Pentagon. They knew, they were the first to know.
So why didn't they find her culpable? Why didn't all these hearings held by people who hate Hillary Clinton, why didn't any of these hearings find her culpable?
Okay, you keep saying the same thing. Now, I'm going to answer this, and I don't want you to interrupt me. There is no crime for being an irresponsible cunt. There's nothing they can do to her. What are they going to do? Put her in jail for just going to sleep while her people were dying? The report said that she didn't do anything, that she was irresponsible. The Republicans hate her guts. They think it was her fault.
So,
the Democrats
so
say,
this
no, it wasn't
report,
her
based
fault.
on no new information.
This is congressional testimony, Rick.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
The congressional testimony says she knew about it and that she didn't do anything. She went to bed. Is that leadership?
No.
Do you think that's culpable? Do you think that's responsible? If you were the Secretary of State, would you go to bed? Where was she, Rick? Why didn't she call anybody? Why didn't she give him help on August the 15th? Secretary Panetta, the Secretary of Defense, says that the problem began when she didn't beef up security at the embassy. That's what led to the problem. She did not respond to his request for aid on August the 15th. He asked for help. She didn't give it to him. Then when the embassy was attacked, she was nowhere to be found. She was not in any of the meetings. She knew what was going on and she did nothing. How much more culpable does a person have to be?
Culpable enough that
What?
that 13, 14,
No.
15...
Was she supposed to go to prison? If they did say she was culpable, were they supposed to send her to prison, Rick?
They didn't censure her. They didn't do any of that.
Well, what is censure? What is censure?
Congress has the opportunity to say we do not approve of...
Well, the Republicans didn't approve. They said it was
Yeah, the
her fault.
Republicans.
Well, Rick, what were they supposed to do? Clamp her in irons?
They could censure her.
No, they couldn't censure her.
Why not? That's an option.
You can't censure the Secretary of State. The Congress doesn't censure people.
All right, anyway, this is all fucking... We're talking about Hillary when we should talk about Trump.
Yeah,
because Trump,
they're going to be... You can't get it through your head that she didn't do anything on the night of Benghazi. You keep telling me that she was fine. Everything was fine.
I didn't fucking say that, but I...
Was she responsible? Did she do anything to help them? When he asked for help on August the 15th, did she beef up security at the annex?
I don't think so.
Then she's responsible.
It's not that...
They asked her for security. She did not provide it. Then they were attacked and killed.
She writes back and she says...
She didn't write back. She didn't do anything.
She asks him, do you want to leave there?
It wasn't her choice. She should have got him out. A leader would have got him out. It doesn't matter what he
chose to stay.
He chose to stay.
Even in the face of security deficiencies.
She should have beefed up the security or pulled him out.
They didn't...
Why didn't she beef up security, Rick?
Well, for one reason is the Republicans cut the budget.
Then why didn't she pull him out?
She asked him, do you want to go? And he said, no, I want to stay.
It's not his opinion. She was the leader. Why didn't she pull him out?
In his opinion, the guy who's on the ground.
No, he said they needed security. She didn't give him the security.
Yeah, well, then she says, do you want to get out of there? I think you should get out. He says, no, I want to stay.
It's not up to him. She's the Secretary of State.
It's just whataboutism and bullshit.
If she couldn't defend him, she had to pull him out.
So she made a mistaken
she let
judgment.
Him die.
She trusted.
It was her fault.
She trusted his judgment when she asked him, did he want to stay?
And then when she was attacked, why didn't she call? Why didn't she show up to the meetings? Why didn't she call the Secretary of Defense? Why didn't she call?
All right, how many more minutes of this shit? All right, no more of this. No fucking more of this.
Why
because
didn't she call? Why
Trump,
didn't she?
all right,
Where was
Trump,
she?
the worst
During
the worst president in history.
During the 8
No, you know
hours
what?
of attack. Why didn't she do anything during the 8 hours of attack?
Fuck you, this happened 10 years ago. Right now we have the worst president in history, yes? Worst president in history, who's going to be subject to his own congressional hearings. And you think everything he does is fucking okay. She didn't even get to be president. We've got a president whose team had 140 contacts with Russia, who attempted 10 times to obstruct justice, according to the report, but was saved from actual obstruction by his own staff. So, but you've pulled an hour of whataboutism with fucking Hillary Clinton.
You're the one that brought up Benghazi.
I did. So what do we have time for one more topic?
Action.
100.3. The question from the director is, should the media apologize to Trump?
Hold on a second. Let me get the microphone.
Okay. Oh, wait. Here we go.
You
Should the media apologize to Trump
And to the American people.
and to the American people? And, well, I mean,
Because if you put them, because
all
it's
right,
gonna,
okay.
it's gonna cause noise. Okay, thank you.
All right, sure. Well, I mean, the media reported on what was going on and speculated, and the news channels have to fill many hours a day with chatter and speculation, and there's only, even with all the news going on, you can't. The news channels are they can't just present the news straightforwardly. That's not their model. They put together panels of various knuckleheads and some non-knuckleheads, and everybody speculates about stuff. And I don't think you have to I mean, the news channels are culpable in general for being profit-driven and sensational and crappy and having bad habits, which leads to all sorts of stuff. Do they have to apologize specifically for talking about Trump and his various behaviors? No.
Okay, Lance, got 2 minutes.
Hey everyone, I would just like to apologize. This was the worst show I've ever done, and probably one of the worst experiences I've had as an adult. I'd like to apologize for my behavior. I'd like to apologize for Rick. It's just, it goes beyond anything we've done, and I'm just really sorry. But I would like to add, please send us money.
So you can get more of this fine stuff.
Okay, so it's Lance versus Rick at gmail.com.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to apologize to you for sending us this money.